Okay friends, so today I'm going to walk you through 4 different character styles that are fast to draw so that you can use them inside of visual note taking. So you want them fast because if you are live note taking, you need to be able to get them down quickly. So while there are many character styles you could do, these are ones I believe are fast enough to produce in real time while live note taking.
Hi, I'm Hayley, Chief Doodler at Thoughts Drawn Out. I'm all about getting creativity working so I can help you to make your mark.
Okay, so character number 1, I'm going to start with a technical pen. I've got my color set to black, make it a normal kind of pen size. So this style you will probably have seen from me before. It is my go-to style and the one I'm most likely to use on pen and paper as well. I like to call them jelly bean people because they're so heavily stylized. They look like jelly beans, but it makes them very versatile characters. So I start with a circle for a head. Then I'm going to follow the bottom curve of that head to do the shoulders, 2 curves down for the body. Now I'm going to stop there in terms of the figure for today and focus on just this kind of head, shoulders, face space. So I'm just going to give this little character 2 arms tucked behind their back. And that should be enough to kind of, don't like that line, we'll take that one out, just to kind of hint at what we're looking at there. Then in terms of a face, I like to keep it simple and do 2 ovals for eyes, nice and close together so I can pick them up and move them around the head if I need to. Simple curve for a mouth. And then there's plenty of space there for some expressive eyebrows if I want to add those in. Now, what I like about this style is that was super fast. There's not a lot of lines to it. It's a very stylized but versatile figure because you can change it into positions very simply. Now, I've just joined up that shape there because from a live note-taking perspective, you will probably want to colour them in. So I'm just going to grab, and I'm going to drop colour because if you're live note-taking and you're working quickly, you want to be able to do that. But one of the patterns I like to do is I'll create one colour for the body and the hands and feet, if you can see it, and then a paler variation of that same colour on the head. I then keep that same paler colour to do a little bit of a shine stripe down the body, and then I come back to that darker colour to do the same on the face. And that's pretty much it. That is character style number 1, jelly bean person. So coming up a layer now, I'm going to stick with the pen because this one is another style that has outline to it, the same black outline, which is quite often the go-to for me when I'm live note taking because it's a pattern that I just consistently use and it means I don't have to overthink that. When I'm note taking, it's just I'm in autopilot. I do the outlines of my pictures and all of my text in black. It's one less decision I have to make on the fly, which is more brain power I can be applying to listening and processing information. So keeping with that pen now, I'm going to start the same way with a large circle for a head. I also do have a tendency to like large heads with small bodies and limbs. I don't know why, I think they just look cool. So then I'm going to come down and add a little bit of a neck with a couple of curves there. And I'm going to put this little character in a collared shirt. So I'm going to come in with those two curved lines around the neck, make each of those into a collar, and then that gives me a place to come and do shoulders, and then just join that up and maybe a couple of buttons. There we go. That can kind of be a hint at a pocket there, a work shirt, it could be a polo shirt, that kind of thing. Nice big-headed character. Now my next step would be to add some hair. Now with a male character, it can probably stay within the shape of this head, so I might do a bit of a kind of fringe around the front and then drop that. Don't like that line. Around the side, and then that gives me a place to put a little ear there if I want to. Not loving those. So that might be the hairline then for a male character, a couple of flyaway hairs. And then I think I prefer to then put the ears on the outside. I do tend to drop them quite low down on the head. And then I'm going to go with two simple dots slightly further apart for the eyes and some smaller eyebrows just over the top. A little curve for a nose and a mouth. So still quite simple, a little bit more line work involved than our jelly bean character, but still relatively fast. And once again, you can drop fill this character or come in and colour underneath. So one of the things I do like to do, I'm going to colour in is the head and neck. Good old yellow blonde for hair. So if I come back to this skin tone and then I make it just slightly darker than what I had there, and then I'm going to come back in over the top and I'm just going to show this shadow space under the chin. And I think that just adds a little bit of depth. You can then come through and do the same thing on that hairline. And maybe bring it down side of the chin there. So it's just a little bit of something extra to give it a bit of depth. So still quite cartoony, still quite simple, but fast enough to do while visual note taking. Now this next style of character is a little bit different. It's one of the first ones I'm going to show you without an outline, without a black outline. And we're going to play with some layers to make this one work. So again, nice big round head. And we'll fill that one in. Now I would come to a layer underneath to make my neck shape. And I'm going to that in, but then similar to the other one, I'll just turn that head off for the moment so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to come back through with a darker colour and add that shadow detail like we had before. There we go, just to kind of show the distinction between the head and the neck. I can merge those down, I'm happy with that now, and I'm going to come up a layer and I'm going to choose a nice deep dark brown. So I'm now a layer above the head and I'm going to make this the hair layer. So I'm going to add some nice big beautiful curls style I always wanted to be able to have myself but never have. Now, I don't love how that one ended up on that side. Still a bit funky, but we'll go with it. Okay, so this is a closed shape, so I can drop fill, but what I'm going to do is just come in just a tiny bit down in that color, because then I can come back to the slightly darker brown that's on the outside to just add a little bit of line texture in there. Now, you'll notice that there are these gaps there between the hair and the neck. So we are going to need to come in behind that neck shape, come to a slightly darker color because it's going to be in that shadowy zone. And I'm just going to color that in. To fill in that gap. Now, I can then, once I'm happy that I like the style of the hair, the head, it's all working for me, I'll merge all of those down, and then I will come back up another layer. I'm going to go with not quite black, just keep it on a really dark brown color. Once again, I'm going to come in with a very simple face. Eyes, eyebrows, nose is optional, curvy mouth. I just like to keep the faces simple because then you can very simply get expressive. Now, if you're happy with the face, you might decide you want to change the placement, make it slightly bigger, smaller, wider. It's the thing, if it's on a separate layer, you can do that quickly and easily. I'm going to merge it down. Then I'm going to come back up on top, pick a cool color and just don't like that shape. Actually, I should come underneath for that line. Would make more sense. And we'll just go with this for now. And that might be maybe like a cool pattern around the neckline. Maybe there's a cool stripe across the front of the shirt, something like that. So once again, quite fast, easy to put together, but we're just getting away from that solid black outline of that cartoon style and just changing that up a little bit. I can merge all of those down and that becomes my character there. So for the last character, again, I'm going to stay away from the black outline and I'm going to do a coloured shape, but this is, again, highly stylized, so that once again we can do this quickly but use it in a particular way. So I'm going to start with the head, make it a bit more of a circle. I'm going to come up a layer. I'm going to choose just like a grey for now. So what I'm going to do is make quite a stylized, slightly crazy hair shape. I'm going to work on this hairline. I don't know if I quite love what I got that time, so we'll just kind of play around with that a little bit. I'll even go a bit bigger and crazier at the front there. And we might even go slightly more of a mullet at the back. And I do like to have a slightly messy hair. So one thing that I like about this is it allows you to be a little bit crazier with hairstyles and hair colors. So I could very easily give this person some sort of like, crazy hair color, and it looks kind of funky. And then in terms of the actual face, we just keep that really simple. So I like to just keep it as a circle, and then if I feel like I need to, I might come back in and carve out the mouth and just literally add a circle for a nose. And I will keep it that simple. Once again, we can come underneath get a neck shape happening there, and once again just to show the distinction, we'll add that shadow in. And once again, you can do a similar thing on the face shape, on the hairline, just to give a tiny little bit of depth there. And when you're happy with those, you can merge those down. I'm just going to grab a colour that kind of goes with that crazy hair. And put a funky t-shirt on our character. Merge those down. Okay, so here are our 4 character styles. We started top left with our highly stylized jelly bean character. Now, what I like about this is it's so stylized that people recognize it as a human, and they can very easily recognize the expression that you put on the face by how you configure the facial features, and they can see the action that you're putting it into by the placement of the limbs. But beyond that, there are no kind of descriptive details. So you can kind of control the message that this figure is portraying down to emotions and actions, which can help kind of hone your message. Moving over top right, we are sticking with our black outline cartoon style. A little bit more detail, a little bit more human-like than the jelly bean figure, still quite quick to do. Now clearly starts to take on some other demographic details though, because we're getting into more of that human shape. So you can start to kind of depict them into particular demographics. Moving down into the bottom left, we are shifting away from our black outline. We're getting to characters that are a little bit softer in terms of how they sit on the page. So they can be great in if you really want to give some kind of personal feel to a character design. And then bottom right, we're coming back into a highly stylized place. Again, we've stripped away a lot of the demographic data, but we're using colored shapes. Less expressive in the face, although you can change the shape of the mouth and the way the face is pointing, but allows you to have a lot of fun with the design of the character with crazy hair colors, clothes, because it's less about how they kind of look as a real human. All 4 of these are quite usable inside visual note-taking. They can be done quite quickly. And so as part of your notes, you can use any of these. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on character style for visual note-taking. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And see this as your starting point to get out there and play with your own character styles, whether you copy these exactly or use these as your inspiration to start playing around with your own designs. Either way, characters are an essential part of visual note taking. They really are the connective tissue between your notes and your audience. They are what allow you to express the emotions and the actions, which are the truly human parts. So please get out there and play around with your character design. And if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, please do that now so you don't miss out on any future visual note-taking fun. We've made it to the end, folks. So please go on, get out there, go and make your mark.